Hey everyone, I'm Spider-Man 1991. Last week, Forever Evil number 7 came out, the final issue to the event. Well, I talked about it in my weekly review, but I didn't get that much into it because I didn't want to spoil the issue. So I decided to shoot a separate video where I pretty much discuss everything that happened, get into some spoilers, kind of go, and also what this could mean for the rest of the DC universe as a result of the storyline. So let's get here. Just one last time, here's Forever Evil number 7. Here's the cover. We've got Luthor's team of supervillains versus the Crime Syndicate. And now let's talk about the event. Talk about the final issue, and also I am going to bring up some stuff for the entire event as well. Alright? First of all, our protagonist for this event was Lex Luthor. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. He was in every issue. He was the one character that I think we really got in depth with this series because, most of the time the main character that we followed and the one whose monologue we heard a lot of was Lex Luthor. So, and I like the way how Geoff Johns writes him because in a way you actually do start to see Luthor in a different light. In this case, and pretty much Forever Evil, it pretty much began with the Justice League being defeated. Superman is gone, so now Lex pretty much decides to do the one thing that he says he could do if Superman wasn't around, which is save the world, and he plans to do that with by taking out the Crime Syndicate. All right, and ultimately though, Luthor does end up being the hero of this issue because he's the one that defeats the all-powerful enemy of this story arc, who's actually his counterpart from Earth 3, where the Crime Syndicate came from, Alexander Luthor, or as he likes to be called, Mazos, which is Shazam spelled backwards because it's Earth 3, everything is almost the opposite. So pretty much Luthor did come up with a clever way of defeating his counterpart. Basically, since this is his counterpart from a different world, they have a lot of similarities, well, except Alexander has hair, Luthor doesn't. So pretty much Lex is able to turn him back into regular Alexander Luthor by saying the magic word, which he got from Captain Cold, and also he was able to use the lightning bolt that Batman brought as a failsafe against the Flash, because he thought he could use it on Johnny Quick. He was able to stick that in Alexander Luthor, and then use him to pretty much say the word himself, so that he could Alexander would be hit with the magic lightning and turned back into regular Alexander, who Luthor then kills. But yeah, at the end of this story arc, though, we do see that Luthor does actually change a bit. Like, it does seem like he wants to help people. Like for example, when what happened in this issue was Bizarro dies. Well, Bizarro is killed by Alexander Luthor, and Luthor is actually very sad about it. Well, not very sad, he's just at first telling Bizarro to get up, but Bizarro won't do it, and then and so at the end he's so distraught that when he's back in his office and he's talking to his team of scientists about the cloning project, which was originally cloned Superman, he asks them to remake Bizarro, and they say, okay, it could take us 10 years to get a perfect clone of Superman, but Luthor refuses. He says he doesn't want a clone of Superman, he wants his monster back. So they pretty much tell him, okay, so then we'll just do it and wake him up in 5 years. Because originally the project said it would take 10 years to make a perfect clone of Superman, and Luthor had to open the clone's tank early in order to help him fight the Crime Syndicate during issue 2 of Forever Evil. All right, and also another evidence that Luthor has changed is the way he handles Cord Industries. The way he handles acquiring Cord Industries, because at the very beginning of the story arc, Luthor was talking to the owner of Cord Industries, who's Ted Kord's father, and he pretty much is pressuring him to sign over Cord Industries to him. And although right when he does it, Ultraman attacks Metropolis, and the helicopter crashes, and Luthor has a chance to almost save Ted Kord's father, but he lets him die. So. But at the end of this issue, we see Luthor going to Cord Industries, and he speaks to Ted, who, by the way, makes his first appearance in the New 52, And he's also wearing a blue and I like the way they drew Ted Kord in this issue. Well, he's a lot younger. Apparently he's still in grad school, and he's wearing like a Blue Beetle t-shirt, a t-shirt with the Blue Beetle logo on it, and the glasses he wears, which I noticed are kind of similar to the goggles he wears when he was Blue Beetle. So that was pretty funny to see. And Luthor talks to Ted, and he tells him that basically his dad wanted him to run Kord Industries someday, so Luthor decides to give the company back to Ted, and tells him that, you know, he's brilliant with nanotech, he could probably do great things with this, and also offers his assistance to Ted if he ever needs it. So, so there's that. And also, earlier Luthor did tell Bizarro that his sister Lena got sick, and he tried everything to cure her, but he couldn't. And at the end of this issue, it's implied that Lena is alive because Lex leaves her a phone message saying he would like to catch up with her. So, no idea what that's about. Maybe we'll see Lena Luthor in possibly the Justice League, since that's going to feature Lex Luthor. And also, the public opinion about Lex Luthor has now changed. They are starting to view him as like the world's best hero, and that's also evident in the Justice League issue that came out after this issue. Justice League number 30, where Luthor tries to join the Justice League, and Luthor does want to capitalize on this. That's pretty much why he wants to join the Justice League, because he even said himself he's an egomaniac, and obviously he's just doing this to feed his ego, since everyone's saying, oh, look, like Luthor's the greatest hero, so he thinks he'll help his image by joining the team of greatest heroes. Gotta admit, it's a smart move. So, okay, where was I? Okay, yeah. So after, and also Luthor starting to be viewed as Earth's greatest hero. That's also, I think, something that Geoff Johns is going to tackle when he takes over the Superman title in this next month. Which, if you saw any of the preview pages for Superman number 32, which will be Geoff Johns' first issue, you see Clark Kent talking to Perry White, and Perry White says he's concerned about Lex's image as a hero. So I think that's something that, you know, we'll see Luthor's image as public image as a hero will be dealt with in both Justice League and Superman. So that will be interesting to see. Also, the biggest surprise kind of came at the end of this issue. On the last page, Lex Luthor figures out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and so pretty much now I think that's what is going to help Lex get into the Justice League. Because if you read Justice League number 30, and yeah, I'm going to be mentioning that even though because it's kind of an aftermath of Forever Evil. At first, the team pretty much says that they don't want Lex on the team. Then, on the last page of Justice League 30, it shows Lex Luthor going to Wayne Manor, and Alfred answers the door, and Luthor says, "Mr. Pennyworth, can you please tell Batman that Lex Luthor is here to see him?" So, obviously, that might be how Lex gets onto the Justice League team. He basically blackmails Batman. I mean, obviously, Batman's not going to stand for this. He's going to figure out something to do, but we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, although really, and this is a running gag that people always say, is that, you know, it's probably a lot easy, people could probably figure out Bruce Wayne as Batman if they actually set their mind to it, and yeah, I think they could, because, you know, if you think about it, if you lived in Gotham, then you might be able to figure out that Bruce Wayne's parents were tragically murdered. You also try to figure out that Batman needs a ton of money, and, you know, you could probably put two and two together, but you know, you can't just automatically say it. You need proof. So, and that's something that Lex does. He kind of like puts it all together. He connects Dick Grayson with Bruce Wayne, which connects him to Batman stuff. So there's that. Obviously, what they have planned with Lex Luthor's character, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen, because now, well, Lex Luthor, I think, is one of the best supervillains in the DC universe, and now they're starting to write him as like one of the best heroes. So I think somehow this is going to blow up in Lex's face at some point, but I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I really liked what they did with Lex Luthor in this series. They really made me want to read more about him. You know, and that's something, and that's always interesting to do when they give the villain the spotlight in the story, because, you know, you never really get to see as much of the villain in comics. Well, I mean, you do, but usually it's when they're first introduced. But sometimes it's always interesting to see them in the spotlight. In this case, that's what we're going to get with Lex Luthor in Justice League, and also in what we got in Forever Evil. So if you were concerned about Lex Luthor being in Justice League, I say read Forever Evil, because that will help you. That will definitely change your opinion. Okay, so enough about Luthor. Let's talk about some other things in Forever Evil, particularly the antagonist. We talked about the protagonists. Let's talk about the antagonists. The Crime Syndicate. Basically, the Crime Syndicate is basically the parallel version of the Justice League from Earth 3. And they're not necessarily, it's not necessarily a world where good is good, where pretty much what we perceive as good is seen as evil there. It's actually a world where basically it's described as power conquers all. Like basically whoever has the most power is in charge and stuff. And that's what gets the universe going, power. But unlike in the main DCU, where Luthor even notes that the Crime Syndicate just looks at their failures as failures and doesn't do anything about it. But Luthor says that failure can be a good thing, and that's something that the Crime Syndicate never knew. That it's kind of confusing to explain, but basically they are more like twisted versions of their Justice League counterparts. So let's get started. So Crime Syndicate, there were pretty much 7 members of the Crime Syndicate. Ultraman, Superwoman, Owlman, Power Ring, Johnny Quick, Atomica, who was a member of the Justice League of America, Deathstorm, and Grid, who was formed out of Cyborg's parts. Now, pretty much what happened in this story arc was that four of those members. Four of those members, Power Ring, Johnny Quick, Atomica, Deathstorm, and Grid, all died. Well, Grid died in Justice League when Cyborg pretty much hacked his systems and deleted him for good. And Deathstorm died in this issue when he was killed by Alexander Luthor, and also Johnny Quick died the issue before where at first Captain Cold froze his legs, then broke them, then Alexander Luthor finished the job. And Atomica actually died in this issue where after Lex Luthor has defeated his counterpart, he sees Ultraman, and Ultraman begs him to kill him, but Luthor doesn't do that. Then he notices Atomica, and he just basically steps on her. Whoops. So yeah, and also Power Ring died way back in issue number 4, I believe, of Forever Evil, where he was killed by Sinestro. Now, the thing about Power Ring's death is, even though he's gone, his ring still exists on the Prime Earth. So right now, it's looking for a new host, and apparently it found one during Justice League number 30, which it found this woman named Jessica Cruz, who I'm guessing she's probably a new character, I guess. And the interesting thing about Power Ring's ring is it's pretty much the opposite of a Green Lantern ring, in that Green Lantern rings usually find someone who can overcome fear. The Power Ring from Earth 3 pretty much finds someone who is most, I guess, afraid of everything. Because pretty much the Hal Jordan of Earth 3 was clearly a wimp, and this woman that the Power Ring just found is apparently scared of everything. Like, she's locked in her apartment, stocked up with everything just in case of doomsday and stuff. So yeah, that will be very interesting to see what happens with the new Power Ring. And also, I'm not sure what exactly. Also, I think the ring somehow feeds off the user's life force, which we saw in Forever Evil, as it keeps tempting the user to use it so that it can charge more, I guess, and feed off its energy and infect them and stuff. So yeah, those 4 members are now deceased, but the big 3 from Earth 3 are the only ones that survive: Owlman, Ultraman, and Superwoman. Now, Ultraman, like I just said, Luthor didn't kill him, but Sinestro and Black Adam were able to move the moon and restore sunlight to Earth, which weakens Ultraman, because apparently in the Earth 3 universe, Kryptonians draw their strength from kryptonite, but they lose it from sunlight. So again, the reverse. And Ultraman, he's pretty much been exposed to sunlight, and he's just put in jail. That's really it for Ultraman. Owlman, however, is actually still at large. He escaped after Batman, Catwoman rescued Dick Grayson, and during the final fight, Owlman pretty much escaped, but not before promising Dick Grayson that they could still be a team someday. And I think that's something that I guess they wanted to leave open for the Grayson ongoing that's going to come out soon. And I think because Owlman's still at large, we see him in another city, I guess, maybe stocking up power, I suppose. And the interesting thing, though, is that Owlman, if in Forever Evil, he was the one who came up with the idea to kidnap Dick Grayson. The only reason he did that is because the Dick Grayson of Earth 3 died horribly because of the Joker, and now Owlman's trying to replace that because he loved Dick Grayson. He was like his brother, so that's kind of what he wants from this Earth's Dick Grayson. He wants the same brotherly relationship. He wants to be a team with him, and of course Dick doesn't want that, so Owlman's a little disappointed, but he still thinks he can change Dick Grayson's mind. So I think leaving Owlman open to that gives us maybe a future storyline in the new Grayson ongoing that's going to come out in July, which stars Dick Grayson while he's legally dead and being a super spy. So not exactly sure how Owlman would fit into it, but it looks something that I would definitely read. All right, and finally, the last member, Superwoman. Superwoman is very interesting and mysterious in this series. For one thing, she's pregnant, and at first we thought the father was Owlman, then we thought the father was Ultraman, so we're not entirely sure. But then finally in this issue, we learned that the father of her child is Alexander Luthor. Yeah. And I think that's a nice little throwback to the pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths, Earth 3, because on that Earth, where basically all the Justice League that world, because in that version of Earth 3, Alexander Luthor was married to that world's Lois Lane, who, by the way, wasn't Superwoman, and they had a son, Alexander Luthor Jr., who eventually grew up to be the protagonist of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then the antagonist on Infinite Crisis. So I thought that was a nice little throwback to, and now pretty much Superwoman's secret identity is Lois Lane from Earth 3. And Lois, so I thought that was a nice little Easter egg right there, and it does kind of give me an impression about what could happen with their child, because apparently Superwoman heard that her child would bring a new age of darkness, or destroy the world, something like that. And so I have a theory that I think Superwoman's child could be the New 52 version of Alexander Luthor Jr. And of course, when I thought about that theory, I realized that this could also mean we could be dealing with another Crisis on Infinite Earths type story arc for the New 52, because also on the very last page of this issue, we got the New 52 appearance of the Anti-Monitor. Yeah. So apparently everyone who said that the person who destroyed Earth 3 was most likely the Anti-Monitor, you were right. Congratulations. And so now we get the new, and also the Anti-Monitor is seen declaring that Darkseid will be mine on Earth 3, or what's left of it. So we've got Superwoman carrying Alexander Luthor's child. We've got the Anti-Monitor. So if you ask me, I really think that this is all that the DC right now is trying to build up to another Crisis type story arc where we're going to deal with the multiverse. So yeah, I guess that's really all I want to talk about on Earth 3 about Forever Evil. But yeah, basically, do I think it changed the DC universe? Yeah, I kind of do, because now the world's seeing Lex Luthor as a hero when he was once known as one of the greatest villains. And also the thing about Superwoman, though, who, by the way, we still also want to point out, Superwoman is the one Crime Syndicate member that we did not get an origin story for. We don't know anything about her background other than that she's an Amazon, and that apparently she was told in prophecy that her child will bring about a new age of darkness. And also, when Wonder Woman tries to intimidate Superwoman, her lasso doesn't work on her. Possibly because maybe she's Diana's other Earth counterpart. That could be a theory, but nevertheless, also she's carrying Alexander Luthor's child, so I really think this is possible. It could be the New 52 version of Alexander Luthor Jr. Who knows? Only time will tell, but I really think that DC is probably planning on another Crisis type story arc where we're going to be dealing with the multiverse again soon. So who knows? But yeah, overall, Forever Evil was a really great event. I highly recommend. At this point, though, since all the issues are out, you should probably wait for the trade to come out. But and when it does, trust me, you'll want to get it. It is extremely great event. Really makes you see Lex Luthor in a new light. Also, we got the impression that they could be another Crisis. And the thing with Owlman, though, the thing that I just said with him being something dealt with on Grayson, that's something that I think they're trying to set up. I mean, it's not definite, but I think they might not do it immediately, but like probably build up to it. So yeah, overall, that's it. So okay, that's it for my in-depth look at Forever Evil number 7. If you guys want me to do more videos like this where I take an issue that I can't really spoil on a weekly review and do a solo video about it, let me know in the comments below. Also, thanks again for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I'm really close to 500. Want to make that goal soon. So thanks again. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.